Quick news update. It's been a while since I've done one of these updates, mainly because things have been quite quiet over the past couple of weeks. Although we do have a bunch of updates here to dive into in this video. Perhaps this is the calm before the storm, but anyway, one of the main things that you will have definitely noticed if you have been running the jailbreak on the PS5 through the web browser over the past couple of days is a massive speed improvement to the UMTX to exploit. So this was brought to us by IdleSauce a few days ago, where he says performance improvements. The clear function of the rock, which is called every time after a chain is launched, is now using set with an already zeroed array. This is much faster. The latency of calls went from 6 milliseconds to 0.2 milliseconds, also not yielding before. The UMTX destroy has improved the success rate significantly. The exploit now often completes within 1 to 3 seconds, whereas before it used to take around 10 to 60 seconds. So a massive improvement here, and the difference is night and day. You can now get up and running with to run your PS4 packages within just a few seconds. As you can see here, when I'm trying to run Minecraft, I don't have, the jailbreak running. It tells me I have to download it from the store. Look how long this takes here. I just run the jailbreak. Only takes a couple of seconds to run the elf loader. Then I can just select the KStuff option in the payload. Select, and then head straight back to the home page and launch Minecraft. And just like that, within a few seconds, we've gone from not being able to run PS for fake to being able to run PS for fake packages with the jailbreak running in just a few seconds. And this is pretty consistent. I'll show a couple of other attempts I've done here, and they all take within 1 to 3 seconds. Now, it's still not perfectly stable. It will occasionally crash. I did get one crash, running multiple tests here. So it's still not immune from crashing. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily as stable as the Louis exploit. But it's certainly as fast or faster than the Louis exploit, which I didn't think would actually ever happen with the web browser. But here we are. We finally have a much faster exploit here, so this is an absolute huge improvement. I would highly recommend using the UMTX to exploit now over UMTX before the speed improvement. Most of the time, UMTX was more stable and generally faster, but there was the occasional time where it would take up to a minute to actually launch, which was even slower than UMTX1 occasionally. But now there can be absolutely no doubt that UMTX2 is much faster, and I even used this over the old IPv6 exploit, because when I was not making videos, whenever I would run the jailbreak, I would use the IPv6 exploit, because I have a 4.03 console that can run that older, which was more stable than UMTX1 and normally launched faster than UMTX1. But now that we have this speed improvement with UMTX2, it is now my go-to option for running the jailbreak with the web browser. So big improvement there thanks to IdleSauce. And of course, you can download the package file from the repo here as well. Just download the dev package here and install it with the package installer, so that you'll have the web browser icon in the media section that you can launch to get a quick shortcut onto the exploit. So definitely install that if you don't have that already. So another thing I came across recently was the Mario Kart game. So this is a homebrew version of Mario Kart, which has a bunch of tracks that you can play that have been compiled for the PS4, which also run on the PS5, of course, as well. So you can actually run Mario Kart now on your PS5. The original project was from Shen35 or Ishin35, and this project was not meant for PS4 or PS5 initially. But you can see here, this is a 3D Mario Kart game created with a Unity game engine. C# Kart Racer supports items like anti-gravity mode, computer players underwater mode, and real-time shadows and lighting. So this project's been in the works for several years, basically porting it for Unity, for running it on the PC and other devices. But it was recently compiled into a version that can run on the PS4 and PS5 by a Hotshots A79, I believe. Now certain textures and effects have been disabled in order to get it to run more smoothly on the PS4 and PS5. So it doesn't quite look as good as it does with the original project on PC. But you can still actually get it running on a PS4 and it works pretty well. And I'm honestly surprised at how much it does feel like Mario Kart 8. From the little amounts I've played of Mario Kart 8. And this homebrew app does a pretty damn good job of emulating the feel of that game, so yeah. Pretty awesome project. You can go ahead and check it out. It's definitely not in a complete state. So there are certain bugs that you will run into and it's not, completely stable in terms of frame rate. But still, an awesome project to check out here for the PS4 and PS5. So I'll leave a download link in the description, along with the original author, a YouTube channel, and project down there as well. So there's also been some improvements to the Blu-ray version of the exploit, particularly for people on 6.0, so there's been several updates now here. This is basically a modified version of the 4.1 jar loader from Hammer 83. That's been modified by iDev or IA, KDev, and I believe Carbar as well. So the idea behind this is it's adding a couple of new features. One feature is a USB ELF and bin sender, which basically allows you to load the payloads from a USB drive. So even though you're using the Blu-ray to actually run the jailbreak, and when it comes to loading the payloads, you can select the USB option, and then any payloads that you put on the root of a USB that's connected to the PS5, you'll be able to load them that way. If there's any updates to the payloads, you can just copy those updates to a USB and load them instead of having to reburn a disk to write the updated payloads to the disk itself. So that is a handy feature that's been added. There's also a pipeline runner with an all-in-one option. When you select this option, it's designed to run ETA, so it will run everything for you. So instead of running UMTX, then the ELF loader, then the payload, it will basically do that for you. So it will run UMTX, it will run the ELF loader, and then it will wait a few seconds, and then it will run ETA. So that is just one option to basically run the entire chain. And then once that's complete, you can then exit back out, and you'll have ETA running in your console jailbroken. So that is the advantage here of this particular feature. Now, one kind of thing I've noticed that's a bit strange on older firmwares is the version of ETA. And that's included in these builds is actually a pre-release build. It's not the official release. And that appears to be because with the official release, at least on my 4.03 system, whenever I try to load it using this particular method, whenever you close the displayer app, it will just crash the console. So you cannot close the displayer app without it crashing after you've loaded ETA, unless you use the pre-release version that's built into these iOS, in which case it will allow you to close the displayer, but then it doesn't allow you to load fake packages, as if case stuff isn't running. Now, I'm guessing that's probably just an issue on older firmwares, because this is primarily designed for firmware 6.0 to 6.50. So if you're on 6.0 should work there if you're on those firmwares. But if you're trying to load this on an older that's firmware, probably the issue that you're going to run into. In which case, you're wanting to use the Blu-ray exploit for whatever reason. And you can basically just use the disk jar loader to load the UMTX and the ELF loader, and then close the disk player before running ETA, and then just send ETA using a payload injector from your computer to load it after the disk player is already closed, which is how you can get the official ETA build running with the Blu-ray exploit. But anyway, another handy feature that has been added there. We also have lots of new PS5 game dumps constantly that are being released. Every day there seems to be new PS5 game dumps appearing. Games like Lies of P and Atomic Heart, and lots of other games, Hogwarts Legacy, which now I believe has a DLC included. There's Duplex releasing PS5 game dumps now as well. So lots of new PS5 games being made available. Usually wherever they're posted, they'll say what firmware they were dumped on, or what firmware they're expected to work on. So that way you know if you're on too old of a firmware, then that game will not run. Sometimes if it doesn't, you'll just have to test it and see if it works or not. On your particular firmware version generally, when you're running PS5 you should try loading them from an external drive first, because that gives you the best compatibility. Some games just do not load properly from the internal SSD, or even from an .2 storage drive that you have attached to your console. So it's always best to try and load it first on a USB or external hard drive. And then if it works and you want to move it to the internal storage to try it there, then you can do so. But always start by running it from an external drive to rule out potential issues being caused by running it from an internal drive. But anyway, so we got that going on. There's a couple of things that have also been happening, and over the past few weeks, there was a new PS5 kernel module loader released by Buzzer with the ability to call kernel functions, memory allocation, and kernel patches. So you've got that going on there too. We also have a release from Slatus, Govy, which is the PS5 fake Zen. So this was a way to bypass a particular security measure that was believed to be active in the PS5 hypervisor for, being able to run Linux on the PS5. Turns out that the firmware, at least that Slurs Govy was attempting this on, did not actually include this particular security measure. So this bypass was not actually needed. But if this security measure is implemented in the PS5 on higher firmwares, or does get implemented in a higher firmware in future, then this could potentially be used to bypass it. To be able to run Linux. Assuming we have a jailbreak on those higher firmwares at that time. But anyway, it's nice to see that some research into getting Linux running on the PS5 is now coming to light. So anyway, that's gonna probably do it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this one or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a